Okay, the next step in solving the Rubik's Cube is to now place in these 4 edge pieces on the middle layer. So you see that we've already completed the first layer, and once we place these 4 edges, we will have already solved 2/3 of the Rubik's Cube. So there are 4 edge pieces that I need to put here. In the last step I told you there were 3 parts to that step, but in this step there are 4 parts. The first part is to identify an edge piece in the top layer. Remember, yellow crosses on the bottom. Identify an edge piece in the top layer that doesn't have a white sticker. So here we have an edge piece that does not have a white sticker, which means it is one of the edge pieces. First part is to identify a piece that doesn't have white. Then simply rotate the top layer until you get a vertical line where these colors match. And here you have it. You have the green vertical line. That was the second part. The third part is to now identify the destination. Now, knowing that these colors line up, I know that this piece either has to go here or here. And to determine that, I look at the adjacent color of my vertical line, which is orange. Okay, so since this is orange, I know that this piece cannot go here because the green would line up, but then this would be orange and it wouldn't match the red. So it has to be on this side. So my green will match up here and my orange will match up here when I'm finished. I identify the top, the edge piece in the top layer that doesn't have white. I create the vertical line. Number 3, I identify the destination and I place it once again just like in the previous step. I hold the cube so that this edge is facing directly towards me. So the destination of that cube is directly in front of me. And then the fourth step is to apply the algorithm. Now this is one of the longer algorithms that you will have to learn and memorize. But there is a nice pattern in the algorithm. There are 8 steps, but it has a very, very nice pattern where if you can think of it as 2 sets of 4 steps. You will do 4 steps or 4 moves, and then you will do those same 4 moves but in a mirrored reflection. Here's how you do it. The first move always is to rotate the top layer 1 turn so that this green piece that forms the vertical line is hidden. So that means I have to turn it this way. So now I've hidden it. You only turn it 1 turn. So if I had turned it 1 turn this way, it's not hidden. I can still see it. So that means in this case I have to turn this piece this direction. That's the first one. To help me remember what's next is I'll just put my finger over that. This piece is in this line, and I'll just kind of hold my fingers to remind me that it's over there, like this. And then I will take my pinchers of my opposite hand and I will hold the cube like I did in the previous step, and I will bring this yellow piece up into the middle layer, the piece where my thumb is. Okay, now I want to turn the top layer back in the opposite direction to recreate my vertical line. And then I move my pinchers back to fix the yellow cross. So that was 4 steps. You will notice at the end of the first 4 moves that you will have your original piece that was here. It's back in its place where you started, but now the corner piece has been brought up into the top layer right next to it. So the green lines up and the orange lines up. So now you have to do those same 4 moves in the opposite direction. If you remember, the first move was to rotate the top layer to hide this piece. The first move I made was to turn the top this way. So that means I need to turn the top the other direction. And then in the next part of the algorithm, I take my pinchers. Last time I used my left hand pinchers. So this time I have to use my right hand pinchers. And I bring up the yellow piece where my thumb is touching, I bring it into the middle layer, and then I take the top and turn it back in the opposite direction. And when I do that, you're going to see that these four pieces, 1, 2, 3, 4, they're perfectly lined up. Greens are all lined up, the oranges are lined up, and even the yellow is lined up. So now I turn my pinchers back, and there you have it. That piece has now been placed in the correct location. So now I'm going to show you another case. In the previous case, after I identified my piece, kind of like this piece, once I identify my top piece, my edge piece in the top layer that doesn't have white, okay, and I rotate it to form my vertical line, and then I identify its destination, red and green is supposed to be here, okay. The first one I showed you, the vertical line was on the right, like this, but you'll notice for this piece, if I follow that process, I identify the piece, I create the vertical line, and then I find its destination. The destination is not here, but it's here. You'll notice this time the vertical line is on the left. Okay, but the algorithm I showed you still applies if you follow it exactly the way that I told you before. The first move of the 8-part algorithm is to turn the top layer to hide this piece. So if I turn it this way, I didn't hide it, did I? I can still see that piece. So I turn it the opposite direction. Then I put my finger over that piece, over that line. And I take the pinchers of my opposite hand so that my thumb goes on the yellow sticker and my finger goes up here, my long finger, my middle finger. And then I move the yellow piece into the middle layer. Okay, now I turn the top back. That piece was over here, so I form that vertical line again, and then I fix my pinchers. So now the yellow cross is fixed, and once again I have the blue lined up, the red lined up, and the yellow piece. So that was the first 4 moves of the 8-step algorithm. I just repeat it in the opposite direction. So last time I turned the top this direction, so this time I have to turn the top this direction. Last time I used my right hand pinchers, so this time I have to use my left hand pinchers. I bring the yellow edge piece into the middle layer, and then I turn the top in the opposite direction this time, and then I fix the yellow cross, and the piece is there. Now that's the basic procedure to fix the edge pieces in the correct place, but there is a situation where sometimes as you're doing that, you're going to look and see that there are no edge pieces in the top layer. So for instance, here is my edge piece, and it's already in the middle layer, but it's in the wrong place. And this one is correct, this one is correct, but these two are not correct. What I have to do is choose one of these pieces to put here. And when I put that piece here, then this piece is going to be moved into the top layer so that I can then follow that same procedure that I just showed you. So I'm going to choose to put this piece here. I'm going to pretend like this is my vertical line. Red, green, green. I'm going to pretend that it is green, green, green. My destination is facing me. I'm pretending this is a vertical line. I turn the top layer to hide that piece. So I have to turn it this way. And I put my finger over that to remind me that that's where that piece is. I use my pinchers of the opposite hand to grab the yellow sticker and the top. I turn the yellow sticker into the middle. Then I turn this the opposite direction, back. So here's my pretend vertical line, red, green, green. And then I fix my yellow pinchers. Alright, so now I've done the first 4 steps. I have to do the next 4 steps in the opposite direction. Alright, so Now, the first time I moved it this way, so this time I have to turn the top this way. The last time I used my left-hand pinchers, so this time I use my right-hand pinchers. I bring the yellow piece up and I rotate the piece, the top layer, back in the opposite direction, and then I turn this back down. So you see that piece that was red and white has now been put here, and the piece that was here incorrectly is now up over here. So now I can put that piece in, and that's in the correct place. And here's the last piece. I identify the piece, I create the vertical line, is step 2. I identify the destination, that's step 3, and then step 4 I apply the algorithm. Hide the piece, put my finger over the top, take my pinchers of my opposite hand, bring the yellow sticker to the middle, turn the top the opposite direction, fix my pinchers. Then I go in the opposite direction. I turn the top the other way. Last time I used my right hand pinchers, this time I use my left hand pinchers. I bring my pinchers up, I hold my pinchers, I bring the top back so that these 4 pieces line up, these 2 pieces, and the yellow line up. Then my pinchers come back down. So it's 8 moves, which you can break up into 4 moves, and then the last 4 moves is just the reflection of the first 4 moves. And that will complete solving the first 2 layers of the Rubik's Cube.